Welcome back, everyone. So I keep talking about this Andy Warhol guy and pop art, and we've learned a little bit about it, but let's talk a little bit more because I know some of you might be thinking, Andy Warhol, who's this guy? I don't even know who this is. And you might be right, but you also may not realize that maybe you have seen some of his artwork and you just didn't realize that it was Andy Warhol's, right? So, for example, one of his most iconic pieces is this lady here. Do you know who that is? Who might that be? This is Marilyn Monroe, right? Very famous actress. And so this is one of his most iconic, most famous pieces, where we've got this self-portrait of her in very, very pop art style. And in fact, you can see that it's not just one portrait of her, it's a whole series of portraits of her, just using different colors for each one. I bring this up because you might choose to do this. You're currently working on a self-portrait of yourself, aren't you? But you know that you're going to have to make more than one of these. We're going to be making a minimum of 3 different images. Now, I just said different images, but in fact, if you wanted to, they could be the same image, but you just alter them in different ways, kind of like Andy Warhol's done with these here. So you could take your same photo that you started with, start with that again in Pixlr, and edit it differently with different colors and put it together into a series sort of like this. So just throwing that out there as an option, we know that we have a minimum of 3 photos that we need to have for our art journal to get full points on this project. And yes, you could totally choose to do your self-portrait first. Maybe you choose to do a picture of a pet or an animal that you love. Maybe you choose to do one of you and one of your really good friends or family members or something like that. So you can choose, as long as it's a school appropriate photo, we're good to go. But I'm just throwing out another option. You may choose to do something sort of like this. Okay? So just wanted to put that out there as an option. Consider it. Take it or leave it. Totally up to you. Now, let's real quickly, before we move to the next bit of information, I want us to look at this. You can see that in most or many of these images, the skin tone isn't necessarily true to life, right? I mean, we've got kind of like a seafoam green in one, a very vibrant red, hot pink, kind of like a cool peachy purple in that top middle one. Now I would say the lower corners are kind of skin tone-esque, right? So those are a little more realistic, but I'm just throwing it out there. It doesn't have to be realistic. In fact, when it's not, it kind of has even more of that pop art vibe. What we're going to talk about next is warm colors versus cool colors. So we'll be chatting about that, but I just want to, before we go to the next slide, I want us to look at some of these. Like, for example, the bottom middle with the blue background. So the background and her hair is cool colors, while her face is a warm color, right? I mean, it's only one warm color. Ours is going to have multiple shades, I'm sure. But do you see how that really makes it like pop? Like, I would say out of all of these, that one, like the face pops the most from the background. And of course the opposite could be true. It could be that the background is warm colors and the face is cool colors. That could also make it pop. So I'm just putting that out there as an idea right now too, because as you're getting further along in our project today, you might choose to do something similar. You might choose to do like, oh, I'm going to do warm colors for my face, but then I'm going to do cool colors for the background, or vice versa. Okay? So let's next chat a little bit more about what does the teacher lady mean? What's a warm color? What's a cool color? So basically we've got what's called a color wheel, right? It's kind of all the colors flow together. And on one half of the color wheel, we've got our reds, our oranges, and our yellows. We call those the warm colors. I like to think of warm colors. I like to think of the sun. I like to think of a fire, right? Things that are warm. And if I were to color in a picture of a fire or the sun, what colors would I probably use to represent it? red, orange, and yellow, right? So those are our warm colors. Our cool colors then are going to be on the other side of our color wheel, and that's going to be our greens, blues, and violets. When I think of cool colors, I think of sitting by a big lake. I'm sitting on some green grass. The water's cool and it's blue, and some areas where it's like so deep it almost even looks purple, right? And there's like a soft breeze. That's what I kind of visualize when I think of cool colors, to help me remember that those cool colors are green, blue, and purple. Heads up, at the end of the semester, and I know we're far, far away from it, and we will talk about these terms dozens of times between now and then, but there will be questions about warm colors, like what are the 3 warm colors, what are the 3 cool colors. Of course, we're generalizing because there's many more than just 3, but they kind of stem from red, orange, yellow for warm, and green, blue, purple for cool. So anyway, just keep that in mind. Once again, we'll chat about it a lot more between now and then, but we really want to know the difference between warm and cool colors. So once again, I had commented that it might not be a bad idea if you're doing like cool colors on your face, maybe try doing warm colors in the background. It really makes it pop, and it's going to give it more of that pop art kind of feel. Or of course you could do the opposite, warm, cool. Just try it out. See if you like it or not. Another form of doing that would be to use what's called a monochromatic scheme. I'm sorry, monochromatic scheme. So what does monochromatic mean? Let's break the word up a bit. Mono, what? Where have you heard that before as part of a word? What would it maybe mean? All right, if you want to research it, now's a good time to pause. Otherwise, mono means one. So what's chrome or chromatic? What does that have to do with? Well, chromatic refers to colors. So monochromatic means that there's one color. All right, so for example, in my portrait, which I'll be showing shortly, my face is a monochromatic blue so far, which is still part of that cool color scheme because all of the blues obviously are cool colors, right? So you could, if you want to, you could do a monochromatic scheme as well. So just throwing that out there as an option. So let's take a look at what that might look like. So here's mine so far, and you can see it's all these different shades of blue. So you can continue on with that, and of course we know what we've been working with so far is this magic wand, and then we can click on an area, and then I'm choosing my blue, and I just kind of like to, move it around. If it's a darker area, all right, I'll make it a little darker. Go to my fill bucket, move my opacity down to like 30s usually I think is good, and try that out. If I click it again, I don't know if I told you guys this in a previous class, but if you click it again, you can actually increase the opacity, if you can see that. So yeah, that's an option too. Now, however, there are going to be some areas that our magic wand tool doesn't work, and that's going to bring us to our last slide for today, and that is our lasso tool. So for the areas that our magic wand tool doesn't work, and I'll show you a couple spots in just a moment here, we want to use something called the polygon lasso tool. So you're going to choose above your photo that you're going to see like the home and lasso first. The first click, you have to click on the actual lasso, like those things that a cowboy uses to like get the cow or the horse or whatever, the lasso, right? So on your left hand panel, you want to click on the lasso first. Then it's going to tell you all these different types. We're going to choose the polygon one, okay? Now you can play around with the other ones too. Just because I'm showing you one way in class doesn't mean you can't play around with some of these other features that Pixlr E has to offer. So feel free to also do that, okay? So we're going to use that. You're going to see the polygon lasso tool is more work than the magic wand tool. That being said, the magic wand tool doesn't always work, so in those spots, that's where we come in with our polygon lasso tool. So let's go back to our image, and I'll show you what I mean, because right now you might be like, why wouldn't the magic wand work? Well, check this out. Here I've got my hat, and you can tell, like, our brains tell us that the hat, make it a little bit smaller so you can see the whole thing. Our brains would tell us that the hat goes to here, right? I mean, the hat isn't the whole sky, we know that. But if I use my magic wand tool and I click here, uh-oh, let me just emphasize this. Okay, let's fill that in. I just want to show you what I mean. See? It like bleeds into the background. We don't want that. That's not going to work for us. So we are going to want to fix that. Whoops. Sorry, on my screen. Things are popping up. We don't want that. Let me just undo. We don't want that in place. Okay, so like I said, where that doesn't work, that's where our polygon lasso tool comes in. So I'm going to select the lasso tool first, and then here, so lasso is there, polygon's here. I'm going to choose this, and I am going to, oops, it's not clicking out, is it? Hold on, give me a second. Let's go there. There we go. I just clicked back a little bit because I didn't want that other one. Okay, here we go. Lasso polygon. Okay, so now that I've got that, I'm going to pick a starting point and I'm going to actually zoom in. Not a bad idea to zoom into the area you're working on. So this is kind of what I want to create as a line that's not already there. So all I did was I clicked right there, that's where my line's starting, and you can see that this is going to follow me wherever I go. So maybe I want my next click to be here, and then here. I'm just going to keep kind of slowly going all the way around. Maybe here I'm making a turn. So can you see? Here's where it's at now. And make a turn. Just be careful. If you double click, it's going to go back to the beginning. So in just a moment I'm going to show you that on purpose. Because now I think I could just go kind of like to here. Maybe I'll do a slight bit of back and forth just to make it a little bit more organic looking in this spot. And you're noticing this isn't perfect, right? Like I'm not following every single little pixel by any means. I'm just kind of giving a rough outline. So you can do that too. Here's where I'm at this moment. Now watch what happens when I double click. When I double click, it's going to pull it back to that original spot, the first one that I had, and it's going to make it an area. Now that it's an area, I can go ahead with my fill bucket, choose whatever color I want it to be. I might go for kind of an orangey color for my hat. Orangey brown, opacity, down into the 30s, and we'll fill that in. Do I want it more? Maybe a little bit more. I clicked it again to just make it a little bit more intense of a shade. And there we go. So where it didn't work before, because it bled into the background, my polygon lasso tool allows me to create a line where maybe there wasn't one before. You can see I'll probably want to do the same thing with my nose, unless I want like a long witch nose or something. That'd be kind of a strange looking nose. So I'm probably going to want to do the same thing here and fill that in because I don't want, you know, my nose bleeding into the grass of the background. So polygon lasso tool, it's here to save the day if you need it, so use it as you like. Of course, don't forget to be saving this too at the end. As long as you're logged into Pixlr, it should save automatically. That being said, just in case, not a bad idea to do that backup of file and save it somewhere like in your art folder. It's a really good spot. So that in case if you should come back and it's gone, you've still got that base, that template to work off of, and so you can continue forward. Don't forget to be documenting your time in your art journal, your in-class and out-of-class time. Document all of that. We are on day 4 currently, and have fun with this. So continuing on, you know, I would say that ideally we maybe want to have our first image done, I don't know, within 1 to 2 more class periods, and then we'll start with our second image, and then we'll get to our third image. We've got 10 days total for this project before it's due, and we are currently on day 4. Can't wait to see what you all come up with between now and then. We'll see you next time.